Welcome back now. One of the nicest parts of a summer holiday is finally getting to lie back beside the pool or on the beach and get stuck into that rip-roaring page-turner you never get the time to tackle back home.
Oh, it is such a joy, isn't it? So today we are taking you through the best books to take on your holidays in the company of two people who should know better than most. Author and actress Claudia Carroll and author and journalist Anna Carey. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Will we go straight into it because we've a fair bit to get through?
Please do.
OK, let's go to you, Anna, first. Your first pick.
My first pick is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, and this is a debut novel that has garnered a lot of just word-of-mouth buzz.
This is a writer, by the way, who won a writing competition. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think like she's not a big name. Like she was pretty much unknown as far as I can tell when she got the book deal, and it's not really like anything I've read in a long time. Like it's a really readable, entertaining book, but it's about somebody who is an outsider and isn't really like most sort of semi-romantic heroines. She's very isolated. She lives on her own. She wears the same clothes every day. She doesn't have any friends. And then every weekend she buys 2 bottles of vodka and drinks herself into oblivion. And we know there's a reason for it, but we don't know what it is.
That's the real killer kick there in sort of the blurb, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're reading about, OK, she's an outsider.
Sort of slightly geeky loner.
But drinks 2 bottles while you're kind of going, OK,
yeah,
she's not completely fine then.
Yes, and the book is about how she develops this sort of crush on a singer and becomes slightly obsessed with him, but she doesn't really notice that her own life is expanding around her through some new relationships. And it's hard to describe without giving too much away.
Yes,
I know Claudia read it as well, but it hits that sort of summer read sweet spot that it's funny and it's really sad and it's incredibly readable. And it's complex as well. You know, it's not just a sort of fluffy, or cheap melodrama. Like there's a lot going on.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, but it's also just hugely entertaining. Like I read it in a single day. Like it was the last time we had a sunny.
It's that good.
It really is that good. It was the last time we had a sunny weekend before our little mini heat wave last week, and sat out in the garden on a Sunday afternoon and just read the whole thing.
Wow.
So she drags you in, which is what you want when you're lying on a beach. You want to get stuck in. And by the way, I believe it has the ultimate seal of approval. Reese Witherspoon it wants to adapt it, wants to produce a movie version.
Yeah, and she's had a bit of a magic touch in recent years. Like she adapted, her production company did Big Little Lies as well, and Wild that she was in. And actually, she's bought the rights to a book by another author, which we'll talk about later, Ruth Ware. But yeah, I can see why. I mean, I'll be interested to see how they make a film of it because it's set in Scotland, and I think it would be quite different if it was in LA or somewhere.
They'll probably move it to Connecticut or something.
Probably, but I think that's why I read the book now before that happens.
That's going to be a big one on the beaches and by the pools this summer. The Woman at 72 Derry Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about this. This is an Irish one, Claudia.
That I was trying to kind of cover all genres. And this is a lovely commercial fiction read written by Carmel Harrington. And it's about just 2 women who are neighbours, who live on Derry Lane. And one is agoraphobic and just cannot, the thoughts of going outside the front door, just can't do it. And the other, her next door neighbour, who she has no relationship with at all, is in an abusive relationship. And it's about female friendship and it's about how connected we all are. And it's just a beautiful read. It's
I'm kind of fascinated
gorgeous.
by this. I love books that are set in Ireland as well because I feel it's closer. So it's set in Clontarf.
Set in Clontarf, and you can kind of place name. You know a lot of the places that are mentioned, like St Anne's Park and that. But a really, really lovely read. And also, can I just say, I totally back up Anna about Eleanor.
About the first one.
It's a beautiful book. I think it's one of the best. It just blew me away.
Yeah. I think everybody has a really strong...
It's about kindness.
Yeah, everyone I know who's read this has a really strong reaction to it.
On this one, though, Claudia, I love the idea of a nice hook, and you mentioned it there, the agoraphobia that stops the lead character from helping.
It's not something you read about very often.
She knows
and there's a reason for it, and then there's sort of a subplot that I don't want to give away, where you find out why there is a reason for it. Just this fear of cannot connect with other people, home is safe, but outside the whole door, forget it. But it's immaculately well researched and just a lovely, like all Carmel's books, warm and wise.
Yeah, she does it so well, doesn't she? The couple next door as well have all sorts of things going on, but look very perfect on the outside, which is an interesting side
never
of the
the
story.
case.
Never the case, of course. OK, so our third one is Anna's pick, and it's The Lying Game by Ruth Ware, you just mentioned.
And Ruth Ware, this is her third book, and she sort of specialises in sort of incredibly readable psychological thrillers that are, really gripping and fast-paced, but also have really interesting characters and aren't too kind of po-faced, even though quite serious. They're very dark things happen to them, but they don't have that kind of grim bleakness about them that some dark thriller writers have. So this book is about a group of old school friends. They were teenagers together in a boarding school in rural England, and something happened. The narration keeps going between the modern day, today and 15 years ago. Something happened back then that was very bad, and now it's going to be revealed because somebody knows what they did that summer, basically.
I know what you did last
It's
summer.
like a movie like that, actually.
I've got to read this.
But so it's going, they're all returned back to the school, and they're terrified that what they did will be found out.
Uncovered.
And it's about the dynamics between these old friends, which is incredibly convincing, about when they were these slightly rebellious teenagers, and now they've grown up, and some of them have settled down, but some of them really haven't. And it's so good about that sort of close female friendships and how it changes over the years and how it doesn't change. And then it's also like a rip-roaring read that does keep you guessing all the way to the end, trying to figure out what happened.
So that one jumps back through the decades. Similar to your next pick, Claudia, He Said, She Said by Erin Kelly.
I think he'd really enjoy it.
I've got it at home. I've got
there
it.
you go.
Go
Okay.
get it.
A court
There's
case
a little book
in
club.
the middle of it, and a married couple and what they've
Oh,
seen.
it's a stunning book, and it was my own editor recommended it, and I picked it up at an airport, and a flight never went by so fast. Really, really gripping,
great
real
sign,
page
Isn't it? People will be
turner.
loving this now.
But it starts out with a youngish couple, and for 15 years they've been living in total fear. And they don't post on social media. They've each changed their identities. And you immediately are thinking, what happened? So they're traumatised. And it turns out they're traumatised, no plot spoilers, but they're traumatised by a woman their own age who they met at a festival totally by chance 15 years ago. So you know that something obviously hugely seismically traumatic happened, but you don't know what. And it's just about how it's unravelled. There's a court case that's ongoing, and just how and it's about deception. It's about it's just and there's twists and turns in it that I never saw coming. I think just you were saying about Reese Witherspoon adapting or optioning books. I think we'll definitely be seeing that on the screen. Yeah, read the book
That's
before.
He Said, She Said by Erin Kelly.
Yeah, she's not a writer I came across.
No, me
before.
neither. But I got sent a copy of it, and I was intrigued. I didn't get round to reading it yet, but now it's being moved up the to be read
Okay, there you
pile.
go.
Really
Okay.
interested in your next pick, Anna, and this is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which ties into the whole Black Lives Matter situation.
Yeah, this is a brilliant book. I mean, it's technically a young adult book, but I would recommend it to readers of any age. And it's about a teenage girl it's an unnamed town in America, but the author is I think she's from Mississippi, so you assume it's somewhere in the South. And she's from a black working class family, but she goes to a quite posh, mostly white school, and she has to sort of code switch her identity between each school. She can't, or each place. She's too ghetto in inverted commas in school, and then she's too sort of posh at home, and she finds this very difficult. But then one of her best friends is shot for no real reason by a policeman, and she gets caught up in the ensuing outrage, and she's a really sympathetic, likeable heroine, and obviously Angie Thomas is tackling some very big issues and some very big contemporary issues for Americans, but it's never done with it doesn't feel like you're being battered over the head with issues. Like the issues are there as a backdrop to the story and the characters, and not the other way around.
It works on its own
Oh,
right.
it completely
as a story,
does, and it's incredibly powerful and really moving, and just really leaves you, quite breathless by the end of it. So it is for readers of all ages. I mean, for teenagers.
Even though
and
the
adults.
language in it is quite ghetto, isn't it? It's quite kind of street language almost.
Well, Not really. I mean, I think because she's, you know, part of what she's writing about is that everybody is kind of multifaceted. So, you know, the character is very keen that when she's at school, she doesn't give anybody a reason to sort of think that she's like some sort of child of the streets. But then she's thinking, well, why should she have to hide any aspect of her personality? It actually really reminded me in some of it's the style, the writing style of really big, good young adult writers from the 80s, like Paula Danziger, who I was very into when I was about 13. But it's sophisticated enough for adult readers.
Just very briefly before we finish up, Claudia, your last pick was The Wonder, of course, by Room.
Yes. I picked that because her Room is opening in the Abbey this week.
That's right.
And it's going to be a musical.
Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Who knew?
I know.
But anyway, I picked The Wonder because it's just an absolutely beautifully, immaculately researched book. Have you read it, Anna?
No, I haven't, but it is on the list
It's set
too.
in 19th century Ireland, post-famine. And you would know that Emma Thompson, I think this is what she studied at college. And you would know she knew it like the back of her hand. And it's about a young girl, a character called Anna, in this small, tiny town, who is basically starving herself to death. But yet she seems to be existing perfectly well. She's not eating, nothing, no water, nothing. And yet she's running around. She's like a normal 12-year-old. And locally she's known as the Wonder. But the sort of protagonist is a nurse, the character of a nurse who's been sent for from the UK. And she nursed in the Crimea with Florence Nightingale. And the nurses were called the Nightingales because they were trained by Florence Nightingale. And she comes over basically to disprove the fact that this is a religious wonder. But it's just about that thing of faith and belief. And again, coming back to family, but you know, there was a story in one of the papers during only, I think, about a week ago or 2 weeks ago of supposedly an apparition appearing at Knock.
Yeah.
And
That's
you see
right,
it online, and I just thought, you see, yes, I think somebody posted it on YouTube, and it was basically clouds, is what I saw, and a bit of sun coming through, and it was meant to be an apparition. But I thought, you know, just this need, this hunger, and you think it's kind of, you wonder if it's doing us for faith.
Yeah,
and
it's Emma
and
Donoghue
no
at
better
her
person,
best.
Emma Donoghue. People buy that in their droves this summer. Guys, thanks very much. That's 6 great titles. If you want to read them, get stuck into them over the summer. Or indeed, you can buy Claudia or Anna's latest books as well. And they're too modest to recommend them themselves, I'm sure. Thanks.
Thank you.